Hi, Take the Leap listeners. Thanks for putting Ashlyn and I in your ears again today. Before we jump into this episode, we wanted to let you know that we've created a fun freebie just for you. If you've been thinking about launching your side gig or small business, we've got a free video training just for that called 9 Steps to Launch Your Business. You can sign up for that video now at www.taketheleap-today.com/webinar to get instant access. You'll also receive 2 free modules from our signature Take the Leap course. Thanks, and now back to the episode.
Take the Leap is the podcast where we get real about the roller coaster that is entrepreneurship and life. Sure, some folks make running a business look like a walk in the park, but let's be honest, it's more like a wild ride through a theme park with a lot of unexpected twists and turns.
Join us, your co-hosts, Ashlyn
and Tori,
as we spill the beans on our own real-life experiences and shine a spotlight on some amazing guests. From the highs of success stories to the lows of epic failures. And hey, we'll even throw in some cringe-worthy, laugh-out-loud, embarrassing moments for good measure.
So buckle up and tune in every Tuesday and Thursday for a dose of raw, unfiltered truth about what it's really like to chase your dreams and build a business.
Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or just dipping your toes into the startup world, we've got something for everyone. Even if it's just to make you think, wow, I'm glad I didn't do what they did.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Take the Leap podcast. We're really excited to have our guest today, Asmâa Methqal. She is a global business growth strategist, leadership consultant, and bilingual speaker who helps CEOs and high-growth companies scale smarter while remaining deeply human in the age of AI and automation. With over 25 years of experience, she leverages her conductor framework for business growth and fire and flow leadership method for leadership transformation to help leaders break barriers, accelerate economic innovation, and drive sustainable growth. Welcome to the podcast, Asmâa. We're so happy to have you. I was putting together too many words there.
I was listening to it and I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Isn't it always fun hearing your bio be read by other people? You're like,
I know.
Right, I did that.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird, but it's like, oh, okay, I did that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Thanks for having me. It's so cool to be here.
Thanks for being here. We're really excited to chat with you.
Same here. Same here.
Well, we're going to start our conversation off the way we always do, which is starting with the question, what's your Take the Leap story? How did you decide to become an entrepreneur?
So I took the leap twice in my life. The first reason why I jumped into entrepreneurship is because I was working on a business marketing director for high growth companies, and especially in the tech sector and manufacturing. And what I've realized is that marketing was considered an expense for them and not an investment. And so it's always like, oh, we'll delay this or we'll cancel this, or you know what, we don't need a marketing person. Like, we're going to just go and move forward with other things. And that was very interesting to me, especially that I helped a specific company get almost $2 million in funding. And one of them was to put money into marketing. And then once they got the funding, like, you know what, we're not going to use marketing for that. We're going to move it to engineering. And so that was my little, okay, you know what, I think there's a better way for me to do this. And so I decided to launch my own fractional CMO services company. And I was like, okay, hire me for 6 months. I'll build a strategy and then I'll empower your team to do it yourself. And then you just go on your end. And that was great because that put me into like having a fractional life in terms of enjoying my personal life and also working with clients that I want to work with, but also come in with this high-end vision of like, okay, I'm here to bring the strategy. So you're investing, you're trusting that you need this. And then after that, empower them to just do it themselves or hire coordinators. So that's how the jump did happen. So it was just this very interesting view that businesses had about marketing and how I can take back my own story about it and shift it into something more empowering and positive for me, and then build the business that I want to create the impact that I want.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that you were like, okay, I'm gonna take this thing that was kind of crappy, but I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna run with it and do my own thing. And I just I feel like in some ways it's very similar to like what a lot of entrepreneurs do. They, have their career and they're like, this is not for me. This is not working. I don't like this. And the only way I can see fixing this is if I do it on my own and
Hmm.
I build my life the way I want it. And so I just love that you shared that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And it's so true what you just said, Victoria, because what I've also realized, and also in my own life, which will take me to my second leap, is that most of us will work in our zone of excellence. And my zone of excellence is marketing. And so, yes, I built a 20 plus year experience in marketing. Like I have two master's degrees in marketing. I worked in marketing in Morocco, in Europe, in North America. I worked with big companies, small companies, nonprofit. So, and a lot of us like I've done all of this. Like it matters. Like I cannot just leave it and then restart something. And then my
Mm-hmm.
second leap happened when I had my best year ever, top clients, employees, subcontractors, everything that I've dreamed about. And it was during the holidays. And I remember I was looking at the wall and I couldn't hear, I couldn't smell, I couldn't taste. I had like four infections in one, and it's like I lost all of my senses. And all I've heard at that moment was like, stop. I was like, what's this? Where is this coming from? I don't get it. I don't understand. And it was really a cry from the inside out that was just saying, yes, you're going where you think you're headed, but this is not where you're supposed to go. And I was like, well, no, this was my best year ever. Like it does not make sense, right? And then I was staying in this, and then I was like, you know what? I've grew my agency enough to be okay. So what I decided to do is to pause and just rediscover myself. And everybody said, you're crazy. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, I know, but if I don't invest in myself, who would I invest on? And when I paused, what was the very interesting thing is that I realized that I was leading my whole life from a very masculine energy where I was trying
Mm-hmm.
to prove everybody wrong and proving to my culture from Morocco that a woman can do it and I can do it. So it was never a drive from me and what I wanted to create in this world, but more like how I can prove it to you. And
Mm-hmm.
through that self reflection and all of that, and through that amazing year where I ended up going in San Diego and staying there for 6 months, I discovered that my zone of excellence was marketing, but my zone of genius was transformation and life transformation. And that's when fire and flow came about. It's like, oh, I was leading my whole life from fire, but I was completely dismissing my flow, my feminine, my intuition, my way of being, like in like so I can be considered checkmark success. And so
Mm-hmm.
and then I was surrounded by women who were all on their fire. I'm like, oh my God, you're all me 6 months ago, right? So I was able to see it. So yeah, so this is like the interesting leaps that we take in our lives, you know?
I absolutely love that because I do think so many people who start businesses, they have all of these external factors and these external voices, right? You're supposed to do it this way. Or if you think of all of the, one of the reasons we started this podcast is because all of the other podcasts hosted by men have this kind of same container of like hustle hard, be faster, do this, who needs sleep, I get up at 5 a.m. and I do these 10 million things, and then somehow I get through the day. And so being able to like recognize that, slow down, pause, reflect, and be able to be like, no, I am not building what I truly want. I am building this ideal that was handed to me by our society, our structures. Somebody else told me that this is everything that I'm supposed to want. So I'm glad that you were able to find that, because I do think that that is something that people, I mean, I am guilty of it myself, of like, hey, this is what it's supposed to be like. You're supposed to have an agency, you're supposed to have people. And now I'm kind of like going like, do I really want that? Do I
Hmm.
really want to be responsible for, things like that? And so sometimes it just takes those moments to be able to figure that out.
Yeah, totally, Ashlan. And you know what was the interesting to me when I've been working with a lot of women and men too, but with the women, it was like hustling was normal.
Mhm.
And to live in a life of ease is hard. They cannot even imagine what that looks like or sound like, or what does that even mean. And so, and that's like the shift that needs to happen, because even us as women, we're not supposed to be hustling. We don't have the energy to hustle. We have the energy of gathering, of intuition and connection and creativity. So I tell women, I'm going to help you create a business. When I talk to a man, it's like, I'm going to help you build a business, right? Because like even the language really, like my favorite quote is like, words create worlds. And so the world that you use really makes a difference and impact on the people. And so like, and that's important. And even like my leap, whether the first one or the second one, that's not easy to do. And I understand that for a lot of people it's a lot of fear, it's a lot of the unknown. And with everything happening right now in the world, with the recession maybe looming, and like all the vibe and the energy is so like low, it's like no, like people don't even believe in their dreams anymore. Like it's just this imposter syndrome and victim. It's like, I'm a victim of this system, there's nothing I can do. And I think that's when courage like comes in and it becomes important. And podcasts like yours, or for other people to go and speak, because you cannot be what you don't see. And so by sharing these stories of leaps, and by talking to other people, or by like even for yourself reflecting, like because even, and I'm sure you can correct me on this, a leap can mean anything. It could be like a tiny little step, that it could mean like jumping out of a cliff and moving completely to a new country without knowing anybody. But leaps are different for everybody, and it's just a matter as you able to listen to your heart and what you're supposed to do. And I know there's not much space of heart in business, right? And now that's why we need women, and we need feminine leadership, and we need to bring all these conversations and be like, yes, there is heart in business. Now, finally, we can talk about meditation and mindfulness, where we can talk about this like 10 years ago. So things are shifting and moving, but it just takes time, right?
It does. Oh, thank you for saying that. You're definitely speaking our language right now, because we've had these conversations so much about how just the culture around entrepreneurship and just business in general needs to change. And in order to be more inclusive of women and just everybody, like you have to have more people with their voices need to be heard, and that's the only way you're gonna like change the culture and make a difference. And like Ashlyn and I talk all the time about how it's so much better to be in business and collaborate with other people instead of always constantly looking at people as competition.
Yes.
It's just so much better to have like a group of entrepreneurs, even if we all do the same thing, we just know that there's enough business out there,
Mhm.
and we'd much rather build the relationships with each other so that we can refer each other when needed. We can ask questions, we can get ideas, we can feel like we have a support system, and we do better as entrepreneurs because of it. And yeah, if we had taken the advice that we had been given, like we wouldn't be connecting with each other so much, and we wouldn't really be like, because we'd be looking at each other as competition. And I don't think I'd be as far as I am today if I didn't have someone like Ashlyn always in my corner. So, it's just it's so important. I think people, yeah, I don't exactly know where I was like, ending that thought, but people
And I,
really, yeah,
yeah, and
we
I,
really need this.
No, and I totally hear you, and it's totally true. And one of the philosophies that I use, whether I'm teaching at the university or working with entrepreneurs starting out, I mentor a lot here in Canada. It's like, how can you have an appreciative lens into your life and your business? And so, even for me, like, even when I was teaching, like marketing at the university, I would be like, yeah. there's the SWOT analysis, which is like weaknesses and threats and all of that. But there's also the SOAR analysis, right? Where we're going to talk about your aspirations and the results that you want to create without
Mhm.
having to focus on something negative. And something like, okay, yes, there's the competitive analysis, but I said, let's do the allies analysis. Because for me, an ally is someone that you look up to and you cannot wait. Like, it's like you watch like Roger Federer like playing tennis, and then like
Mhm.
this 7 year old's like, I would love to play with Roger Federer when I grow up. That's an ally. I want to be to that level and be able to play with him. And I think there was an ad about like Italian pasta about exactly the story that happened. But that's the truth. So it's like, okay, let's shift from competition to allies. Who are the allies that can support me? Who is the collaboration? And that's so true. And that's why like it's innate within us women, and
Mhm.
that's what we need to bring more of these feminine principles into business, into entrepreneurship, in the way you're talking, because there's not just one way of doing business. It
Yeah.
was the way it was doing business that was patriarchal, and it was all about achievement and all about competition and all about success. But there's also the other side, which I think we're going into right now, which is all about fulfillment, which I think
Mhm.
after COVID showed us that it was no more about my paycheck. It was about, am I happy in this job? And that's why a lot of people
Mhm.
went into depression during COVID, because they're like, I hated my job, but now I don't
Mhm.
know what I want to do, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, knowing what you know now, what piece of advice would you give yourself when you first started?
When I first started, that's a beautiful question. I'll say forget everything you know and everything that you've learned.
Uh-huh.
Reconnect to yourself and to your essence. A lot of people don't know their essence. I literally spent 4 sessions with my clients for them to figure out their essence. Know your essence and then create from there.
Mhm.
Trusting that everything will work out for you.
I
What
love
what I'm seeing with a lot of people is that it will come at 40, 45, 50 and be like, I don't like my career. I did all of this because of I had to, but now I want to find my passion. I want to find what I want to do. I'm like, okay, well, let's get to know you. And then they're like,
Mhm.
I don't know myself. What do you need to know? Right? So there's that self-awareness that it's missing as well, and all that preconditioning that we've had to
Mhm.
just like throw that away. Like even imposter syndrome. I think there was a um Rami, I think it was a woman who talked about it, that imposter syndrome was created for women, like
Yeah.
by men. And I just learned something like literally like last week, that there was a research that was done in 2020 until now that proved that when a woman is pregnant, like just before getting pregnant, and the egg and the sperm, it's not like the first sperm that get there that like fertile the egg. It's the egg scans and then sends signals to the
Yep.
most compatible sperm. So my body, my choice is like at a cellular level. It's about
Mhm.
compatibility, not about competition. Like there's so many things we think we know but we don't know. So let's
Mhm.
forget everything and let's build like from heart, you know?
I love that. Oh my gosh. And yes, that's a good reminder. As somebody who had a child, I remember reading that and thinking, huh, how come we're taught the opposite?
Yes.
It's
And
really in all modern culture and just, like that's what you think of. And it's like, no, no, that's not how that works.
exactly. And the way business, like we don't have a 24-hour hormonal cycle like men. Like we have it 28 days.
Yeah.
Like now that I am in perimenopause, like forget it. Like I will have 2, 3 days when I'm stuck in bed with pain, which I
Mhm.
didn't have before. So now I'm like, I need to plan my
Mhm.
month to not have important meeting those 4 days, not have podcast recording, not have
Yeah.
like keynote speaking, because I know I won't be myself during those 4 days and I will be in pain instead. And so again, it brings again this other elements, like even the rhythm of business needs to
Mhm.
align with who we are.
Yeah.
Such a good point. I know that I've met some folks that talk about creating your business around, literally around your menstrual cycle, because
Yeah.
you know that it is going to impact how you feel, what you want to eat, how, how energetic you are. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, if you're dealing with pain, I mean, nobody likes to just be like popping ibuprofen all day and like what that
Oh my
does to
God.
the rest of
Like,
your
hey,
body.
what's up?
Yeah.
I'm doing no, Rousey.
Yeah.
No.
Oh. All right. I have our last kind of regular round question before we go into our hot seat questions, but it is, what is your why? Why do you choose entrepreneurship? Why do you choose to do what you do now?
Mm, beautiful question. The moment I found my dharma, which is my reason of existing and being, which is to create a harmony in the world, and that's why there's fire and flow, create a harmony of fire and flow in the world, it just becomes a responsibility. I have to show up. I have to be there. Like I have now the skills and the strength and that I'm supposed to share my voice and be out there and serve as many people as I can. And if I can help the path and the experience for some people so they can get there faster, that would be ideal. Like often I say my my definition of success is someone else's miracle,
Hmm.
right? Right. So it's just being on the back seat and just like pushing them into the spotlight and be like, yeah. And that spotlight can mean anything, like being in front of stage or just creating something for an introvert that could work for them. And so, yeah, the moment you know your dharma, your purpose in life, you're just like, I'm here for a reason and it's exciting and let's go for it and just trust that everything will work out.
I love that. That's beautiful. Well, we're going to move into what we call our hot seat questions section of this. These are basically the best way to describe this is these are just fun questions that are very random. And so each one will be very different.
Okay.
Um, and I always started off with the same question first. And it is, what is your best and or worst advice that you've received in your career?
Okay. Great question. Best advice I've received in my career is trust your intuition.
I love that. That's perfect.
Trust your
That's beautiful.
intuition. Yeah, because sometimes on paper it looks all great
Mhm.
and how much money you're gonna make from that contract, whatnot. But no, trust your intuition. If something feels off, then it's off.
Yep.
And the worst advice, I have tons, but the worst one was just like, just suck it up, it's business.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that one.
Yeah.
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 It's business. There's no emotions in business. It's business. I'm like, sorry, I have a superpower that maybe you don't have, but yeah,
Mhm.
I'm gonna use it. You know.
That's always like a hidden excuse for being shitty about
Yeah.
something too. It's like, the suck it up comment. It's like, no, that doesn't need to be that way.
Yeah.
Or like, yeah,
Or
like it's not personal, it's just business. That's just an
yeah.
excuse for you to be a dick. Like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Totally. Totally. Or because they have nothing else to say, or you hurt their ego, or they just don't agree with you. But instead of having an adult conversation about it, they're just like, hey, suck it up. It's business. Or it's like, no, it's not business. If I get screwed over, that's not business.
No.
That's just like our values are totally not aligned.
yeah,
And
Mhm.
what you did is unacceptable. So can we talk about that? You know,
yeah,
it's just like,
I know. It's just business is a lack of accountability,
yeah,
yeah,
basically, for what you
totally,
do.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, what is your leadership?
Mhm. Mhm.
exactly.
All right, so I will admit I have not had time to look through it, but I just picked up the Life Design Playbook, and I'm looking forward
Oh,
to it.
yeah.
Well, and obviously, I love books, so that
Yes.
is it. But I was just curious, what was your process to publish it, and how did you pick and choose what you put in there? Because I feel like that is always when I think about writing a book, I'm like, there's so much. How would you distill it down to what you need to have in there?
Uh, well, first of all, thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And then you show it to me. It's like, yay. Well, it's interesting, like the way it started. So the playbook is basically a written version of a workshop that I do that is very popular. And I chose to call it Play Shop. Now I had to change the name because people was like, "Can you change the name?" But the reason why I called it Play Shop was the idea is like we can talk about heavy topics, but still in a light way. It's
Mm,
okay to bring them up, but they don't need to completely put the energy down that everybody's sad and wants to cry. Like we can still talk about it. And the way it happened was like some girlfriends of mine, like 7 years ago, said, Asma, we would love to do a vision board. Like, do you
mm.
want to lead it? And I was like, oh my God, can I do it my way? Can I do it in my own style, my own version? They're like, yeah, like you have free reign, go have fun with it. I'm like, okay, awesome. Sunday we'll meet up. And I remember I was just like creating like the whole workshop and I was just having fun with it. I wanted them to start by appreciating their life until today. I don't want them to go from this place of judgment or wanting something that they don't have yet. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna do that, but how I can do it? Okay, there's the wheel of life, but like it's still again masculine. It's still focused on men. I wanted to have, so I created these 12 categories that even has romance in it. But I said romance with yourself, but romance with others. And it has the volunteering piece, but it also has the spirituality piece, and it has your relationship with money, not how much is in your bank, but your relationship with it. And so I was just taking those key categories or areas of our life and I just created them into this beautiful wheel that then they can color, so then it becomes fun for them. And then from there, once they color it, then I help them create a bliss board. So I don't call it a vision board because I want the energies to lead. And but after defining those one or two key areas they need to work on, not all of them, but just choose one or two. And then from there, then after that, there was an action plan. So that's how it was. And it was very successful. I will do it. And literally, I don't know why, how, but people will come to me like, everything I put in my bliss board happened. I'm like, what? I'm like, okay. I'm like, okay, I guess the process works because you connect with your own energy, you connect with yourself, you do the wheel, you don't go from a place of judgment, but from a place of appreciation. And then from there, then you create that board, that bliss board that can be virtual or on paper, and then you take action. So it's just not like us sitting women cutting magazines and sipping wine, but it's like it's a self-reflection, self-awareness exercise that gives you a lot of breakthroughs, but also do that. And so when people like during the workshop, they'll be like, can you share the questions with me? And I'm like, no, because sometimes the question becomes intuitive and I just feel the room and I just like come up with different questions for the same thing. And they're like, can we choose? So I was like, okay, so that's how I created the play
The
shop.
board.
So now
Yep.
like they can
Love
take it because like, can I do it with my husband? Can I do it with my kids? Can I do it? And then the last one I've done, I do them through my community. I had 4 women bring their kids.
Oh,
So
that's
I had
exciting.
as young as 5 years old. I have a 17-year-old boy that was like, I don't know what I want to do in my life. And we had the moms, and I was just like, and it was so cool because live, I was like shifting the question for a 5-year-old. And it was like, if you had candy, a lot of candy, will you put the candy like in a place and you're gonna hide it and maybe you'll get interest on it, or you're gonna eat it right away? Like, it's like, so like the bank money, are you doing savings? Or so I was just like having fun with it. And it was so much fun. So that's how, and then now like you have it. So it's a way for people to just do it themselves and just get those breakthroughs.
Huh.
That's really fun.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
said something that I realized that people don't realize that when they write things down and they put it out in the world that they want it, it makes it easier to take action. So the reason that all these people are getting what they had on the bliss board is because they were clear about what they want and the actions to get there. Because a lot of people, especially, when you talk about the 17-year-old boy, like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
many people are in that space. And I feel like even as adults, when you think about and reflect on your life, the things that I'm doing now, I had no idea. I had no idea 10 years ago that this would be. I had no idea, 4.5 years ago when I started my business that this would be, and so taking that moment and that time to really write it down, give yourself that clarity, it becomes easier to make things happen because you know what it is that you want and you're not operating in that kind of like you had said earlier, that like victim mindset, or like, all this stuff is happening to me. You're empowering yourself to take action towards what you want.
Yeah, totally. I know, and it's interesting. Like, I had a friend, I remember, like, she asked me to come 3 times to do it with her family at different periods. And because every time it's a new experience, because you have
Mm-hmm.
new insights and something changed in your life, and maybe your financials was low last quarter, but now it's higher. So now it's your tribe, or maybe now it's your spirituality. And I tell them it's not about having tens. It's
Mm-hmm.
about harmony. It's about balance. Like, imagine that it's a wheel and the wheel is going. It's not clunky. That's all it needs. You don't need, if you are a three in all of them, that's good. That means you're in harmony. And that's what we want, right? But it's also, for a lot of people, the feedback that I got is like, you brought up areas that I've never even thought about,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it's always, again, money, family, job, and hobbies. Like, those are the core things. Like, that's how like a man's brain work as well. Like, these are the, I go to work, I go to the golf, I have to take care of the family. I have to, like, it's like, no, there's like other things. There are more, like, life is fluid. There's like more other element that you need to consider, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, slightly different topic.
Let's
But
go.
so you touched on this a bit, and I kind of want to go a little bit deeper.
Mhm.
Um, you published a blog post and a video about finding your feminine energy, and how if you're on the verge of burnout, you should really prioritize that. So will you talk about that a little bit, about finding your feminine energy, and like what's something people can do? What are some steps they can take, and like why that's important?
Yeah. So one of the main things that I've seen with people, whether women or men, is that when they go into a state of burnout, that means they are using one spectrum of their life more than the other. So if we talk about the energies, they're either too much on their fire or too much on their flow. And so when you are too much on your fire and trying to work like on this masculine, like goals, I need to achieve this, I need to do this, I need to work on this, then you're gonna get into a state of burnout. And then if you are in flow mode for too long and you don't have action and you're just like flying on the seats of your pants, then like nothing's gonna happen too, and you're gonna be just floating out of nowhere. And so for a lot of people, like especially with women, what I'm realizing is they are not connected to their feminine, and sometimes they don't even understand what feminine energy means. And basically all it means, it has nothing to do with gender. We all have feminine and masculine energy. It's just about tapping more into our own essence. And for all the women that I've worked with, all of them, their most predominant essence is feminine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of them have a very strong masculine, but that's okay. Again, it's about harmony. It's not about balance. And then they're like, okay, so you have this essence that is feminine, and so now how can you cultivate that, and how can you bring that more into your day-to-day life? So one key exercise that I do with a lot of my clients is called the queen list. And when I work with men, I call it the king list. But basically, the whole point of that list, again, depending on if you want to go more into your fire, more in flow, if you want to reduce burnout, then we want to be more in our flow. And then at that moment, it's like, okay, what are 5 things, 3 to 5 non-negotiables you could do every day that will get you more into this state of flow? And so for me, for example, is dancing. When I wake up in the morning, I like to dance. I like to have my mornings to be relaxed and calm. I don't want to have a meeting at 8 a.m. My meetings will start at 10:30 or 11. That's how I choose my lifestyle, because I can be creative in the morning and work on other things. And it could be dancing, it could be meditating, it could be in the evening having a bath, it could be walking along the water, it could be walking in nature, it could be reading. Like, what is something that you could do to just be?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And is that element of being? And I love that the universe is agreeing with me here.
I was
That
like,
it's
I've never had
about
that, see that happen before with the Zoom. That's awesome.
it's
What is that?
I
Fancy,
know,
fancy.
I know we're not on Zoom, so
Yeah.
I'm very surprised that this is happening. So because when we talk about fire, it's doing. I need to do something. Where when we are in our feminine, it's about being. And so there's this element of what's something I can prioritize throughout my day or evening where I can just be without an agenda, without a goal, without a plan. And I know it's counterintuitive, especially for entrepreneurs that are like, I need all of this done, but you need to slow down to accelerate. And if you don't hear the whisper, you will feel the slap. And so we don't want that. So, how can I slow down and find ways to be throughout my day or throughout my week that will allow me to reconnect to myself and just be? Because then you'll be able to increase your intuition. You'll be able to connect your body's wisdom. Your body is always talking to you very literally. So, it's like learning how to decode those messages. And it could start as simple as like, what could be 3 non-negotiables I can do? For a lot of, I work with a lot of immigrant women, so I have a lot of organizations here across Canada that invite me to deliver my feminine leadership program for not young, but new immigrant entrepreneurs. And most of them, they come from Africa, immigrants, Caribs, and I'm like, and I do it in French and in English. But for a lot of those women, what comes the strongest is like their imposter syndrome. They don't think they can do it. They think like they're not good enough and all of that. And so with them, I'll be like, okay, then prioritize power pose. When you wake up in the morning, do the power pose. Look at the window, do your power pose, and just trust that everything will work out because your whole demeanor will change throughout the day. Your whole body language will change, and you'll have more creative ideas, and you will feel like you can take action versus just sticking there, right? So that could be one of the elements of the queenless, meaning that I'm trusting. So for me, like when I talk about flow, it's inside out.
Yeah.
Right? And it's about what we're bringing forth. That we know this. What you do behind closed doors show up very strongly when you're in public.
Yeah.
And so for a lot of people that do a lot of inner healing work and then they cry all the time at home and they're like, this is never gonna stop. Like I'm one of them. Like, come on. It's like you think like you haven't moved, but then when people see you and meet you, like you're totally different. Like because they can feel the energy, like the work shows up, but it doesn't show up right there for you. And so that's why having this queen list, whatever name the person wants to give it, it's like, what are my 3 non-negotiables that are just to honor me and celebrate me and just be without having to prove myself to anyone or to myself either. I just want to be. And so I'll say that will be like the secret sauce to not have a burnout.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Mm.
I love that.
What resonated the most with you from what I've just shared?
I feel like I've been only doing one of my 3 non-negotiables, and that's writing my morning pages. Like, I want to be able to take like a 20-minute walk in the morning, and I just haven't gotten myself to doing that. I've also been sick the last like few days, so I'm going to say I'm going to get to that eventually. And then I love to read. And so like I guess I've been doing 2 out of my 3 non-negotiables, and that's like reading for bed, even if that means I fall asleep because I'm reading before bed.
Yeah.
But able to kind of keep those as like sacred moments for myself because it relaxes, it calms, it helps brain dump the head trash that you often start your day with. And I can tell the difference on days when I do do the handwritten pages versus the ones where I just like go straight into emails and do stuff. It is a less productive day. It just isn't as good. And it's got, well, actually, I wrote a really good newsletter in my morning pages today, which I have to type up. But usually it's just gobbledygook.
That's okay. That works,
Yeah.
I took a book course, and the people that were able to finish their draft before others were the one that was journaling every day.
Yeah.
So you're already like ahead with
Yeah.
that. I can say that right now. Yeah.
You're inspiring me, Ashlyn, because I keep putting that on my like, I should really do this every day before I start. And then things just get really busy, and
Type it in your Remarkable tablet.
I
Just make a
know, I
page.
know.
It's so easy.
I feel like at this point we should be sponsored by Remarkable because we bring it up so much.
Oh, too much. That's right. Give us a sponsorship, Remarkable.
I love
Um, but
I
yeah.
love so for me, I've been because I watch my kid in the mornings and then my husband and we balance childcare. So my go-to like non-negotiable has been when we wake up, I literally will put headphones on my son and like let him eat his breakfast and do what he wants, and then I put my own headphones on and I will read or listen to an audiobook while drinking my coffee. And there's something about that, like that, just like in the morning, just recalibrating and starting my day, like you said, not having a really stressful morning. If I do wake up and it's like have to do this, have to have meetings, like I used to have really early meetings because that's what I was used to. I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? Because it's just not helpful. And then I would be stressed all day because it's like I'd be like meetings all morning and then not get any work done. And I've just found that if I can just relax for a few hours in the morning and then start working, I'm much more productive.
Totally. And it also sends a very strong message to the universe and to your day that you're honoring yourself first,
Yep.
Mm.
not someone else's agenda, not someone else's goals, like me first, right? And that's why things flow easier. That's why you're more productive because now you're tapping into a wisdom because you were able to connect to yourself,
Yeah,
right? Yeah, that's
absolutely.
beautiful. I love
Yes.
that.
Yes. Thank you.
I have the next question, and I'm just curious because you mentioned Morocco. I believe you live in Vancouver, BC now, and you mentioned that you teach in French and English. How did
Yes.
how did the migration happen? How did you get to where you are now, just physically in Spain?
Physically, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was born in Morocco and I was there until I got my master's degree there
Oh,
on
no.
in information science and technology. So basically, I got trained to be a librarian. So that was the plan. And then I got a scholarship to come and study in Canada. And in Canada, they said, yeah, you can come, but you'll have to do a master's degree. Like we don't like consider your master's in Morocco. I'm like,
Oh my gosh, worth anything. Ah.
great, thanks.
Good old
So
education systems.
I was like, okay, whatever, sure. So I went to l'UQAM, Université du Québec à Montréal, and I had a marketing communications master's degree there. And I came here in 1999. So I was 21 years old. I was on my own. So it was my first time like leaving the nest and then like just figuring out the whole life on my own. I didn't have my family here. I Since then I brought my mom, I brought my brother with his kids, and now everybody like lives. So I lived in Montreal for 10 years, and then I thought I met the love of my life, but he wasn't. But he lived in Victoria, in Vancouver Island, and he had a daughter. And I know with my dad, we were not close, like he didn't live with us and things. And so I was like, no, no, I want her to have a relationship with you. So you don't have to move to Montreal. Like I'll move to Victoria for you, especially that I speak English. You don't speak French. It won't work for you in Montreal. And so I did that. I moved there. That relationship didn't work out, but I just love the community in Victoria. And I've been there for 15 years. I'm still surprising myself, pinching myself that how did I do it that I stayed there that long? And last summer I moved to Vancouver. So now I'm officially in Vancouver. So I'm very close to the airport. I'm literally 10 minutes to the international airport, which is like perfect, like so I can travel more and things. And so yeah, so since I was a kid, I was speaking French, English, and Arabic. We learned English like since university. We also learned Spanish, but unfortunately, I didn't practice enough Spanish. And even at school, when I was like learning to be a librarian, like because at that time, I think it was like 60 or 70% of the literature in the world was in Spanish. So,
Mhm.
as a librarian, we needed to know Spanish to be able to tell people which resource to find. And so I was able to take that information and shift it into, oh, now I know how Google works and how keywords work, so because you can find the information. So that's how I was able to shift into technology and marketing and been
Okay.
in there. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really fascinating. That's great. And I
Yeah.
also wish that there was like more of an emphasis in our country here on like learning different languages when you're younger, because
Mm.
there really isn't. And granted, in high school, I think most high schools require that you at least attempt to learn it like with one credit or something. But like I don't remember anything from when I was a kid. I took French for a couple years and
That's
I'm
it.
it's still very like it I didn't practice it enough and it left my brain. And it would yeah. And I as an adult, I know that I have free will and I should definitely
Well,
do that.
the funny thing is I'm learning Korean right now.
Oh wow.
Fun.
I
So
got hooked to Korean dramas, so my K
I love
dramas,
it.
and I'm like, okay, I need to listen to them in original sound, and okay, let's go.
I love
Kamsahamnida.
oh,
So I'm learning Korean with Duolingo, and I was like, oh, this is
that's
so
so
fun, like
cool.
learning another language.
I love that. Well, I'm
Yeah.
using my son as an excuse as he gets a little bit older. We're going to I'm going to just force him to learn languages and I'm hoping that like if I practice with him, then it'll naturally happen for me
Happen.
too.
Well, hopefully before the glasses, AI glasses will happen because now they
Yes.
want to do it
Yeah,
anyway. When you speak a different language, it translates for you. So then we're gonna get into this lazy mode where it's like,
right.
I don't need to learn a different language. I just have to talk. And it is proven that like kids, and especially like young kids, when they learn different languages, like their brain is formed differently too because
Mhm.
they're able to connect a lot of different ideas. And even when I
Mm.
moved to Canada, it took me a while to adapt, right? Because I will think in French and I'll have to speak in English.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then now I'm thinking in English and I have to translate into French. So now when I have people say, hey, can you come and teach us? I'm like, okay, happy to come and teach you my programs or come and do keynotes. I'm just gonna be very clear. It's gonna be Franglish. I'm not giving you the full like university degree French because one, most of oh here we go again. Most of most of the concepts are in English. So I still have to say leadership, marketing, it's still like English words. And also sometimes I won't know a word. And now like I'm comfortable like in an audience be like, how do we say like intuition in French again? Right. And then somebody will just like say, I'm like, oh, thank you. Yeah. And then I'll just keep rolling with it,
Mhm.
right? But it's easier for me now to create a whole presentation in English. It's just faster for me. And now, like, oh, now I need to translate this. And four words in English is a whole paragraph in French. That's why people love English because you can say a lot with a little bit
With
of
the
words,
less
right?
words.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Love that.
that's really fascinating. I love that.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
and that's what's great, and that's why I have my title Global Business Consultant because I am able to understand people from Africa, people from North America, people from Europe. I can understand immigrants from like Middle East, and so when I went to the United Nations last year, I felt I was at home. Like
Mhm.
I can talk to anybody and I can understand them. And even though I'm here, I don't practice much my Arabic or my French as much as I want, but I'm able to understand somebody from Quebec. I can understand somebody from Paris. I can understand like an English from from like the UK or an American. Like I can understand those, and I can see that some people have hard time like I
Mhm.
literally somebody said to me, I'm from Quebec, but I cannot understand this French guy when he talks to me.
Mm.
I'm like, what do you mean? Like it's the same language. Like, yeah, but he used words and expressions that I don't understand. And so
Mhm.
that's like now back to self-reflection. Oh well, look at that. Like I can do that naturally. So it's in my zone of genius, but because it's natural to me, I don't recognize that it's a strength that I have,
Mhm.
right? So now then you add that to your curriculum and you add that as another element that I can do because now I have more empathy because I can understand more and I can see different cultural cues and language cues that someone else maybe can't because they don't speak different languages or they haven't come from different backgrounds. You know what I mean? And so
Mhm.
it
Mhm.
brings that element like of belonging again and how you can create more of that space and bring in more voices to the room, which is how we started this conversation at the beginning.
Mhm.
I
Oh,
love that.
that's so beautiful.
That is beautiful. So beautiful. I love that. Well, we are coming to the end of our conversation, but I do have one final question that I've been asking everybody. And that is, what is on repeat on your playlist right now? What's a song or an album that you can't stop listening to? We're going to make a playlist. So,
Oh my God, I have so many right now. I I'm
okay.
enjoying Spotify AI right now. It gets
Mm.
to know me so well.
Yep.
But the one I have on repeat, let me find it for you right now. My phone is here. Um, I love vocal trance, so it's a little bit different, but I'll give it to you right now because this is my favorite song right now. It's called Out of the Silence by Sultan plus Shepherd. So that's the name.
Oh yeah, I think I've heard that song come up on my Apple. Apple just does like a discovery playlist
Mhm.
for me. So I try to reward it by like if I really do like something, add it to my
Yep.
Yeah, it's
my
Out of the
things.
Silence. I'm just keeping it here. Yeah,
Love
I
it.
just listened to it lately and I'm like, oh my God, I just love it. Like I have different playlists, like I have playlists for journaling. It's public in my profile, and I have other playlists to just like be in flow when I'm working. So vocal trance is my way to go. I
I
just
love
love how the music goes up and down and you can just like feel all the feels when you're in it. So
Mhm.
that's
That's
my
a great.
vibe. What about
I,
you? I know I'm curious about your favorite songs.
well, when I work, I do something similar. I go through like different playlists on Spotify that are sounds like that, and a lot of them I really like the ones with nature sounds and music.
Mm,
For some reason that just calms me and keeps me going. I don't know, and it encourages me. In terms of just like in my car, around the house when I'm cleaning, I usually just whatever's on Spotify, like the new releases, I usually just hit that because it's usually like more upbeat. There's like a lot of Sabrina Carpenter on there. Taylor Swift is my go like she is my
your
favorite
go-to?
artist. Yes.
Nice.
I went to her Eras tour. It was amazing.
Oh, that's awesome.
She's got a vibe for every emotion. So
Mhm.
like if I'm happy, I pick certain songs. If I want sad Taylor Swift, there's a plethora to choose from. Like
She's there for you. Not,
she's
not,
there for me.
not like
Yeah, she's
Adele.
up there
Adele is just
too.
like when you're ready to cry.
So I have a really hard time picking just a couple because it totally just depends on my mood.
Same
The
thing.
other day I had the windows rolled down because it was so nice out and I was listening to country music, which I don't really listen to that much country, but
Fine
like
with it. I'm eclectic. I love it. I love
Yeah.
country. I love all kind of music, really. Like I started
yeah.
now a new playlist called Afrobeats. And I'm just
Mm-hmm.
into Afro
That's
beats right
great.
now, and I'm just loving it. And I
Yeah.
called another one Latino Caliente. And again, if I listen with you, I pure it there. Why not? Um, but it's interesting, right? Again, because you were saying that depending on the nature sounds, I'll be curious which nature sound calls to you the most.
Well, and we actually, I think we talked about this on another podcast with another guest, but somebody told us that birds chirping is a really great way to calm your nervous system
Yes.
because of like that fight or flight. Like we learned, like if
Mhm.
the birds are quiet, that means that like a
There's
predator is
danger.
coming and danger is coming. And like my body, all of our bodies probably has a hard time differentiating um, between me reading an email and me running from a bear. And so I try to choose like nature sounds with like birds chirping because it does actually work. I've tried it. There
Mhm.
was one day I was really overwhelmed and I was driving somewhere and I just found literally just birds chirping and that was it. There was no other sounds. And I felt myself, even though there was traffic and there was a lot going on and I had a lot to do, I just found myself calming down. And
Mm.
so now, because I know this, I intentionally seek out bird chirping noises so that way I'm like, okay, maybe in the background my nervous system will just simmer down, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. The reason why I asked you that is I have another event on top of my play shop. It's called Chakras Dance.
Ooh.
Mm.
And I walk them through the seven layers of the chakras with different songs and different like
Ooh.
And of course, like if you want to go into security and safety, it's tribal music, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like it's very tribal. It's very stomping into the floor, like and then when it's water and wave, then you are in your feminine because you are in your sacral, right? And then when it's fiery and it's fire, it's like yeah, yeah, yeah. Then you are in your solar plexus. And then when it starts to become a little bit more eerie, when you start hearing birds chirping and things, then we're talking about hearts and throat and so like it's all connected, and sometimes it shows you when you have an imbalance in your chakras and which energies you
Mm-hmm.
need to harmonize. So music is powerful that way.
Yeah,
That's really
I feel like
interesting.
I'm always listening to music all the time.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know what's the magical element with it? My top artists, I DM them or they DM me on Instagram.
Oh, very cool.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, I like if my so like there's one specific artist. He's my top artist right now, and he's been for a while now. Jacob Lee, and the reason why I love Jacob Lee, any song of Jacob Lee is amazing. He's a lyricist, so
Mm.
he's very careful about each word he uses. And oh my God, the poesy he writes is just incredible, and he has an incredible voice, and he produced everything himself,
That's so cool.
Mhm.
and he's
Very
just
cool.
incredible. And so I was in his 0.1% listener for like 2 years. And then I sent him when I was like 1%. I basically just put it in my story. I tagged the top 5 artists, and then he replied to me and he
Oh
sent me
wow.
a voice message
I
Oh
love
my
that.
gosh.
saying
That's so
thank you.
cool.
And I said, well, one thing you don't know is I was in the 0.1 last year. He's like, no way. And then I sent it to them, and it was just like so amazing. So there's this element of you can connect with other people.
Well, we are wrapping up today. Thank you so much, Asma, for being on. For anybody who is listening, if you have any questions for Asma, all of her information will be in our show notes. We will also, if you have a recommendation for a guest or if you have questions for us, you can always reach out to us in DMs on our Instagram or fill out our forms on our website. And we will all see you next time. Thanks so much again, Asma.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to the Take the Leap podcast. We hope you found useful takeaways you can apply to your entrepreneurial journey. Subscribe so you don't miss future episodes, and keep in touch and follow us on Instagram. If you have business questions, shoot us a direct message or leave us a comment. We'll try to cover it in an upcoming episode. And visit our website, taketheleap-today.com, for more resources like our online course that accompanies this podcast.